Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Bas-Uélé in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. You see here in English it's called Lower Uélé. This is named after the Uélé River you can see flowing here. There are, as you can see, many rivers here. You can see flowing through the capital city of Buta is the Itimbiri River. But this area is very mountainous and lots of rivers flow down from the mountains. And this area is also very beautifully lush and green because we are in the Congo. We are in the thick rainforests of Central Africa. The heart of darkness, right? If you had to read that book in high school like I did, this is the Congo. It is rich with animals, rich with plants, of course. There is a bit of deforestation occurring in this region, but I've seen worse. Let's just say that. I've seen a lot worse. And there's not much else to say about geography. It borders the Central African Republic, which we talked about yesterday on my channel. And that's about all I got for geography. Now, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Thank you for watching. My videos are usually way more in depth than this, but there really was just not much about this area to talk about. And normally I would go through Google Earth and show you lots of beautiful locations and towns and natural wonders, but Google Earth doesn't really have any in this area. It's kind of sad. But I guess the only really interesting history that I found, which is actually really sad, is about Ebola. And I wonder if the Ebola news was so big that it just dwarfed any other history that I could find in this region, because that's the only thing I could find about this corner of the DRC. The Ebola outbreak occurred in 2018, which that's the good news, because by now, in modern times, it's a very containable, controllable, even curable virus at this point. So what is the Ebola virus? If you've never heard of it, or have only ever heard it, just briefly mentioned, it is a very deadly virus that is highly contagious. It is mostly contagious when the patient is near death or has passed away. The issue with that is that many cultures in areas like Bas-Uélé honor their dead by everyone gathering around. All the relatives come, even if they're out of town, to honor the deceased, and they gather around their deceased loved one. But that is when the virus is extremely contagious, and at these wakes and funerals, huge outbreaks would occur. They would be, huge mass outbreak events, and then someone from that would pass away, and then there'd be a funeral for that, and it would just snowball out of control. And the virus is extremely devastating to the body. There's kind of a point of no return in this virus, that it just kind of liquefies your insides. It's a rough one. But this disease occurred first, I believe, in the late 1980s, really picked up in the 1990s in parts of Central and Western Africa. And we've learned a lot about this virus so that when an outbreak occurs, it can be very quickly controlled and maintained. And like I said, there are people who survive Ebola, which is miraculous because it's a devastating virus. So that is what occurred here. Many people lost their lives during the outbreak. There were a couple thousand, I believe, which is so sad. But I didn't find any news about how it was controlled, which is actually good news, because if it did spiral out of control, I would have seen a lot of news articles about it. But I didn't. I just saw that an outbreak had occurred, which means that it was capped very quickly, which is very good news. The sad news is that there have been many other outbreaks in the DRC, in other areas of the country. It's a huge country. It's actually the largest country. No, it's not. It's Algeria. It's the second largest country in Africa. It's massive. But, yeah, it's still an issue to this day because there's a few mammals that can pass it along. I believe bats and primates can infect humans with it. So, still very much an issue in this corner of Africa. But really not anything to worry about. You know, if you're traveling here, visiting here, it's not going to be, oh, am I going to catch Ebola? You're not. It's outbreaks are few and far between. They happen, but they're few and far between. Ebola was, I remember in the 90s, just being told that like this was like an apocalyptic virus and it was going to spread. And gosh, what was that movie called? They made a movie about Ebola spreading. But thankfully that never happened. In fact, when was it? I believe it was during the Obama administration in the US, where a patient almost entered the US with Ebola, and he was found at the airport and contained. And because that would have been, wow. Because it's one thing when you're in a small community place, in these towns you can see here in the DRC, it's much easier to contain than if they were in a large urban sprawl. I think it was in Texas. Much easier to contain nowadays. The responses to Ebola nowadays are very swift, very efficient, which is excellent. Maybe someday Ebola won't exist. Maybe we'll get it eradicated someday, which will be wonderful, because it's claimed far too many very innocent lives in places like Bas-Uélé. And that's really all that I have for you guys today. I could ramble on and on about contagious diseases, to be honest. I'm going to cap it here. But yeah, typically on my channel, we go into far more detail on certain places. Although it might take a minute, because the next place we're going to in my videos is Chad. It's just up there in, I guess, northern Central Africa. I don't have too much about that place, but we will check it out on Google Earth, because I'm going to show you a lake. And no, it's not Lake Chad, but very similar to Lake Chad in that it has essentially almost entirely dried up. There's some times where it is completely dried up. There's sometimes during the rainy season where it's flooding. It's so massive. So we'll look at that lake and we'll talk a bit about the history and things there in that corner of Africa. So if you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. If you learned something, if you didn't actually know about Ebola virus, you can give this video a little thumbs up. If you learned anything new, let me know what you learned down in the comments. Or we should do what we did yesterday. Since this is a short video, can you tell me your favorite animal? Tell me your favorite animal. You know what mine is? Let me find him. 1 second. Oop. Oh no. Don't drop him. Get him over here. Ooh. There we go. It's elephants. This is Topple, the ASMR elephant. And I suppose I should show off his skills to end the video. I'm gonna, wiggle his ears like this against the microphone, and then I'm going to brush his hairy trunk against the microphone for you guys to end this video. Let me move my pop screen out the way. There we go. And I'm gonna move my hand, wiggle his ears around for you guys. Let me end this by brushing his trunk against the microphone. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video. Do it for Topple. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing